Sports. Dave,
Yahoo.
what's that?
I did the Yahoo.
Oh, Yahoo.
I won a contest doing that. Did I say that yesterday?
What happened?
I won a contest as a kid, a Yahoo contest.
Stop.
Serious. I'm not joking around. That's a serious statement.
Well, you can't stop there.
It kind of is just the story. I don't remember how old I was. Probably like 8, 9, something in that neighborhood. And there might have been like a parade or something going on in town, and one of I think it was the newspaper, but it could have been the local TV station. They were having like a Yahoo contest, and whoever Yahooed the best won whatever the hell you won. Which I have no idea what it was, but I know that I won.
That is really something else.
Yeah.
Did you get on TV? Like, did you get to be in a commercial or something?
I'm like 99% sure it was a newspaper thing, and for some reason they were promoting something.
Ah.
That's the way that I remember it in my head. I just know that I won, and I know that I won because I had to Yahoo really loud.
You would think that they would want to show off your Yahoo, and it's hard to do that in the news unless they just like spelled it out real long. And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it might have just been like to be on site. Like it was really a production for everyone that can see it on the street at that time, you know.
Pretty cool.
But, you know, it was 25 plus, probably 25 years ago. So
anyway, that's Josh Engelman, Dave Loughran. We got ourselves a 15 gamer today.
Kinda.
Now, before we jump into anything, we're getting an early start. We need to with all of these games. Some of them are pretty horrible, but then there's some great ones as well. Yeah. I would definitely urge everyone to pay some close attention to some of the weather in the Northeast. Yeah. We're expecting some serious thunderstorms. Like with Philly, I don't know what to expect. It looks like we're supposed to get a good amount of rain. Same thing with New York, with the Mets and Brewers. And I don't know where you're at on Eichhoff, but like with Eichhoff and DeGrom, these are two guys that to me had pretty significant value today. One more than the other, but both of them viable. And that might not be the case anymore.
Yeah, I mean, DeGrom was my number 2 pitcher on both sites. He's a guy that I was likely to have in like 40% of my lineups today. But I've also prepared my entire thought process of thinking he is not in play. That Mets game has looked rough from the beginning. The Phillies game, I kind of expected to play. And now it's looking a little dicier. But Red Sox, Rays, and Mets, Brewers, I haven't really expected to happen all day.
Yeah, I don't. With Philly, I'm not necessarily sure what the case will be, but it looks like there's at least a good chance of a delay.
Yeah. I don't think that any of these East Coast games or the Northeast games are starting on time.
You might be right. Nationals might appear to be in the clear, at least for now. But
yeah, I figured they were going to be like 7:30 start instead of 7:05.
Possibly. There's a string
take a little bit of extra time and then call it a day.
There's a string of like mega thunderstorms coming though, and it looks, no meteorologist here, but just on a radar loop, it looks like they're probably ending around 8:30, 9 o'clock. So maybe they just delay them late and play. It looks like they're probably clear after that. Would much rather have a 2-hour delay than an in-game delay, especially if you're using or considering one of these starters. So we're putting that out there now, but Josh, we're just going to talk about them as if they're going to play, because in the event that they do, we want to have covered everything as good as possible. And the first game we've got here is Philadelphia and Miami. Again, rain expected here, pretty significant. And you've got Eichhoff and Jose Urena. Dude, Eichhoff has not really pitched much over the last year plus, but his stuff is pretty good. Like, his fastball is not great, but he's made up for it with the curveball, and he's made up for it with what did I say? With the curve and the cutter, which both of them get a lot of swinging strikes, a lot of misses on the pitch. So against the Miami team that's already terrible against fastballs as it is, and has like a 3.7 run total, I'm not afraid to look at someone like Eichhoff, barring weather. He hasn't looked bad this season either. I know he gave up 4 runs to Colorado, but look, he's missing a ton of bats, and ultimately that's what we're looking for. So what are you doing with pitching here between Eichhoff and Urena?
I mean, for all intents and purposes, I'm ignoring both guys. I'm certainly ignoring Urena.
Right. But let's just, again,
I,
assume.
Yeah. What I mean, whether or not whether doesn't really make a difference to me. Urena is just not on the board.
Oh, of course. No, I thought you meant, yeah, of course not. Not Urena.
No. If this slate were different or smaller, I think that I could talk myself into a little bit of Eichhoff. He grades out solidly for me. He'd be the type of guy that I'd be okay getting to as an SP2. The matchup is about as good as it gets. The problem is it's not a different slate. And there are a lot of high upside arms that have the ability to go out there today that are going to take up the large majority of my ownership. And he just gets pinched due to volume. So,
Who are they? I mean, obviously you have Scherzer and you have Paxton, but like DeGrom with the weather, if that becomes an issue, let's say that does, and Philly isn't as bad. Who are your other high upside? Because I think other than those guys, I'm not in love with Ray or Kluber. Kluber really the same thing as like with Bauer yesterday. He had a really, really good start, but only had 3 strikeouts in 8 innings, which is kind of what we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that went exactly according to plan.
Right.
He's still a really good pitcher, but you're not set up to rack up like major K numbers against that team.
Right.
So other guys that I'd be looking at, and this is very clearly 2-pitcher site territory. Like I'm certainly not taking Eichhoff on FanDuel. There's just too many other good dudes. Like you can talk me into some Max Fried. I know you're probably going to be like really freaking out over Martin Perez when we get there.
No, not today. Too many games, too many mid-range guys that I like too.
See, like I'd be willing to take him today if I were paying down in that sort of way. Carlos Rodon.
I'd rather go to
fantastic.
Justice Sheffield.
Oh, interesting. Carlos Rodon looks good. Tyler Skaggs looks good. Desclafani is a guy that like was appealing to me. Robbie Ray, not so much on DK, but on FanDuel, he's really underpriced. Bumgarner, Ryu, like there's just so many dudes today that I feel like I'm trying to get too cute if I take Eichhoff.
That's fair. I mean, in today's article in the deep dive, I talked about Rodon. I mean, he's a legit pitcher, man. He's good.
Yeah.
Skaggs coming off the DL. I think there's upside there. I have some concerns about it, though. I'll tell you, I really do. I think we're on a different page, but I think Eichhoff stacks up against all of the mid-range guys today, or at least right alongside of them. I think he has 10 strikeout upside today. Like, I really do.
Okay, yeah, we're on different pages for 10 strikeout upside. But I do agree that he like stacks up with a lot of those similar guys. I have like, or at least earlier in the morning, I had like 8 guys or 9 guys that were separated in value by like 1/10 of a percentage point. So it's just kind of take the guy in that particular stack that fits with whatever pitcher or whatever hitting stack you just got.
Right.
So sometime that's going to be the 7,900 guy. Sometime that's going to be the 6,900 guy. I don't really care which one of those is the guys that's popping up because the real bulk of my exposure is coming to the guys that have like, 15K upside.
Yeah, he's only pitched 15 innings since last season. He came in towards the end of the year. But he had really fixed some stuff. His curveball was better. He hit 25 strikeouts in 15 innings. And I know it sounds crazy and you probably scratch your head when I'm like, oh, I think he could have 10 strikeouts. But just consider this for a second. Like his first start against the Mets, he had 6 Ks in 4 innings. Then he had 8 Ks in 6 innings against Colorado. Now he's facing a Miami team with the second highest K rate in the league against righties. It's not really that outrageous to say he has a lot of strikeout upside here.
Yeah, I mean, the Marlins are not great. That I think we all know that much. Eichhoff grades out with like a league average-ish FIP via the projection systems. 8.5 Ks per 9. Like you can rack that up against a bad team. That wouldn't shock me whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's a stellar pitcher. That's not. But
he's a guy.
But upside wise, I think it's absolutely there today. Yeah. Anyway, what are you doing with bats? Philly bats disappointing again yesterday. I mean, this has become a common occurrence. You're almost at a point where you're like, hey, I'm waiting till the prices come down. And look, I'm not saying that's the smart move, but they're not very cheap. At least on some.
I'm on Team Phillies bats today then.
What's that?
I'm actually on Team Phillies bats, so
Sure, but
I'm riding hard for your bats and not for your pitcher. You're riding hard for the pitcher and not for the bats.
yeah, I mean, hey, Ureña's not bad against righties. They've struggled. It's not to say they can't touch him up, but well, and mind you, I'm only on ICOF if I get some info on this weather. Like I got to stress that. I don't know. Talk to me about the Philly bats here.
Yeah, so Harper grades out number 1 in my home run model today, which is something that I'm interested in. And I like
love
Philly.
Harper.
I love Philly on DraftKings and FanDuel. McCutchen, Harper, Real Muto, Hoskins. I mean, like those are 4 really legitimate bats. McCutchen and Real Muto, not crazy expensive on FanDuel. These guys aren't getting a lot of ownership there. They're barely getting any ownership on DraftKings right now as well. I'm hoping that the weather just kind of scares people off, but the weather in the Philly game, unless we get really early word that it doesn't happen, like I'm not worried about the bats if I'm stacking them in 5-mans. I might not want to take as many one-offs if I'm worried about the weather, but that's not going to stop me from going to like full 4 and 5-man stacks.
I got you. Okay. Fair enough. In doing
and
so,
then I don't care about the Marlins.
Right. In doing so on DraftKings, you're going to have to go with at least one relatively cheap pitcher to make that work.
I guess I should say that differently. I'm going to end up with Marlins, and I don't want to because they're bad. They're popular today.
Dude, it's crazy.
No one has a single, like, they're the cheapest thing in the world.
I get that they're cheap, but like, okay, yesterday they were super cheap. They needed 10 innings to get 3 runs, right?
Yeah, they're bad.
And I'm not using one game as a sample here. We can use the whole damn season so far. Like, all right, here's my thing. Okay, Curtis Granderson is leading off, and Curtis Granderson is cheap. I get all of that. Eichhoff's not terrible, number 1. Sure, the park's good. I'll give him that. But, like, when you're talking about RBI and run scored opportunities, Granderson pretty much needs to homer because you just don't have a team behind you that boosts any form of upside. I mean, give me Max Kepler, who isn't even that much more expensive, also leading off against Alex Cobb on a team with the highest total of the slate.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, they're cheap, but they're not good at all. I mean, it's still
they're a team
tough.
that I desperately hope that I'm underweight on.
All right, let's move on. We got a lot of games to talk about. Washington and San Diego. Well, we've got, and if you guys have any questions, hit us up in the premium Slack chat or in the YouTube chat.
Yeah.
On the mound for Washington is Max Scherzer, and you got Matt Strum for San Diego. Scherzer got touched up in his last start against Miami, nonetheless. But the guy still has a 33% K rate. He's still, the best, if not, no, he's still probably the best overall fantasy pitcher. Or at least you can make a very good argument for it. 3-run total today for the San Diego Padres. And I've got to ask you, man, were you as shocked as I was when you saw the prices on DraftKings for Scherzer, DeGrom, and Paxton? It just seems ridiculous.
Yeah, is this like the new normal?
I don't
the same
know.
thing that you said when we were about to start the show. It was just like, what's wrong with their pricing? Like, is Scherzer hurt? I was like, I mean, he got like 9 Ks and a walk in this most recent start, so he can only be so hurt. He's been getting hit, but I don't care about hits like at all. Especially if your strikeout to walk ratio is like 55-5 or something stupid like it is right now. I don't care if he's hit unlucky right now. It's the least important thing in the world to me. And he's mowing people down and he's not walking anybody, and that is really the only thing that I care about.
Yep. It should be the only thing that you care about at that price too. I mean,
yeah, he's number 1 with a bullet today. Yeah.
Come on now. And honestly, Scherzer this season, he's been right from a fantasy standpoint, but he still has 7+ strikeouts in every single start.
He's been a lot better on FanDuel because he doesn't get dinged for hits.
Right, exactly. Yeah, whip has mattered, but you're crazy to look at it and say, no, he hasn't been good enough for me. I think 10-4 is a little much. But what about on Yahoo, where he's $61 on FanDuel? He's also astronomically priced at 12.3, which is pretty fair. It's just crazy underpriced on DraftKings. Obviously, DraftKings, we don't even need to have that discussion. But what about FanDuel and Yahoo, where we do have some other pitchers that are priced like DeGrom is $1,500 cheaper on FanDuel, weather pending. Paxton's $1,300 cheaper. On Yahoo, it's a whole lot different. DeGrom and Scherzer are basically the same price, but then Paxton's $5 cheaper. So what's your thought process there?
I still love him. I mean, the 12.3 price tag is scary, but he's less like I'm less scared about him on a 15-game slate because there are going to be plenty of cheap bats today that do just as well as expensive bats. So I'm not worried about getting to him at 12.3 on FanDuel. He grades out as my best pitcher by 30% more than Jake DeGrom or than James Paxton, rather. I'm trying to ignore DeGrom as much as I can. I expect Scherzer and Paxton to be separated by less ownership than I think they actually should be. So I'm still there with him and Paxton. It's just going to open up more of Carlos Rodon, Bumgarner, and Robbie Ray for me on FanDuel. But I just can't pass up his upside. He's the only guy this season so far, and the only guy today, obviously, that I have projected north of 50 fantasy points. Just baseline, median outcome today, 50 fantasy points.
Yeah.
He's the only guy I've had all season projected for more than 10 strikeouts.
Another thing that should not go overlooked, cannot go overlooked, Max Scherzer's K rates against righties are just ridiculous. I mean, insane. He's elite against both. But you're talking about a guy who last year threw 220 innings plus, 108 of them against righties. He struck him out at 38.5%. 38.5% across the full length of the season. And you've got one lefty in the lineup today. Come on, man.
Yeah, sometimes no one matches his upside today. Like Paxton has a fantastic matchup. It's an incredible ballpark. I still think Scherzer is just on a completely different level than Paxton. And I think Paxton is on a completely different level than the rest of these people. If Scherzer wasn't on the slate, we would be talking about Paxton the same way.
Oh, he's a spectacular play.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's just very clearly second to me.
I'm with you. What about hitters
fantastic
here? What do you do with hitters against Strom? I know he's a pretty good pitcher. I take nothing away from him, but the Washington Nationals just make for one of those teams that you can nicely stack them up against lefties. I mean, yeah, Dozier's batting 7th and all. You got Carter Kieboom in the 9 hole. I was hoping he'd be batting higher because he's cheap. But, Robles, Rendon, Zimmerman is real cheap, and he's in the lineup. He's really murdered lefties, even throughout all of these struggles with I know sometimes you can overstate platoon advantage. He has a massive advantage against lefties. Gomes batting 6, Dozier 7. So what do you make of them against Strom and the Padres?
I'm not super interested. I think I'm more likely to get them in one-off scenarios than in full stacks, just because it's not really a massive run total. I have them projected right now. I just updated the lines, 4.23 runs for the Nats. That's really low. And on let's just call it a 13-game slate. I think there's way more upside in bats. I think Strom is good enough, and I don't expect this to be some sort of run scoring affair. I don't see as much potential here as I would have liked to get to. So I'm not really on the Nats all that much.
Okay. That's fair. It is a huge slate.
Yeah.
I still have some interest though. And the only thing that does kind of surprise me is your ownership on Zimmerman. Actually, you know what? He might be the only one that actually has any serious owner. He really is. What do you have them as a team, that ownership on the stack? It's got to be around 3-4%.
What's the last update we've got?
I can keep going and we can get to it later. I'm just curious.
Whatever I had the best I could do is this morning. We haven't had an update since 1:30, so this will get us, essentially where we need to be. Nats were 2nd on DraftKings and 7th on FanDuel. On FanDuel, it was 4% aggregate. So, I mean, like everybody is basically the same besides the Jays and Twins. And then on DK, like I said, they were second, but they're not like appreciably ahead of a bunch of teams. It's pretty narrow. Everything seems relatively flat.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems high. Maybe because of Gomes and Zimmerman. Outside of that, I don't really see much at all. All right. Well, let's keep going. We've got Toronto and Oakland, and we're going to spend more time on the better games. I think we might spend a decent amount of time on hitters here. Stroman is I've said this a lot. When healthy, he's the type of guy I generally don't like picking on. He doesn't give up. I don't think he's allowed a single home run this season. Like he's not a great fantasy arm because he doesn't get a ton of strikeouts, although he's been decent on that front this year. He just doesn't give up a lot of base runners. He doesn't give up a lot of runs. On the other side, though, Fiers is allowed 6 earned in 3 straight starts, 5 home runs over that stretch. He's getting no swinging strikes, particularly against lefties, but both sides of the plate. And this, Josh, is a very big day for the Toronto Blue Jays.
That it is.
Eric Sogard is leading off. No, Vlad Guerrero Jr. batting 5th, making his debut. Look, I'm excited for this.
Me too.
He's not even expensive anywhere. My guess is just a hype will get him a decent amount of ownership. But I like Rowdy here batting cleanup. I like Vlad. I like Grichuk. Even Sogard at a relatively weak shortstop position. You got Justin Smoke. Man, I do like the Blue Jays a lot today. My only concern is that Oakland's bullpen is decent.
Yeah, I'm a monster fan of the Jays today. Love the idea of getting to Vlad. On FanDuel, the Blue Jays grade out as my 4th most efficient stack on a dollar for dollar basis. They're also 4th on DraftKings. It's really hard to not be interested. I wish Vlad was hitting a little bit higher in the order, but I'll take what I can get. This
5's not bad.
No. He was projected higher earlier in the day.
He was projected 3rd, right?
Either 2nd or 3rd.
Oh,
okay. I was really happy about that. He grades out really well. I mean, 3,200 on FanDuel. He's underpriced. 4,300 on DraftKings. We're going to come to learn that he is underpriced. He's fantastic.
Dude, no question.
Steamer projection for you. 142 weighted runs created plus, a 13% K rate, and a 213 ISO.
Yep.
20.
Amazing. Here's just one sentence from today's article. Guerrero should immediately become a formidable slugger for the Jays and will likely become one of the most expensive third basemen in the near future. Feel pretty confident about that.
Yeah, for sure. He's going to be fun, man. I'm really, really, really excited.
Yeah.
And he was getting a little bit of ownership this morning, 16% on FanDuel, and I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I know.
I want to be there. I want to be able to celebrate when he goes yard here off of Mike Fiers.
Yeah. Fiers hasn't had a double-digit swinging strike rate against righties since 2016. He's given up a ton of hard contact. Like, I think he struggles here, even if it isn't the best offense, man. Vlad injects a lot into this team. What about Rowdy, though? I really like him here. I like him a lot, actually. And he's not expensive at all. Batting cleanup ahead of Vlad, behind Grichuk, sandwiched in between those guys. That's nice.
$2,500.
Crazy. It's crazy.
On FanDuel. Yeah, love them. $1,400 or $14 on Yahoo. Love them. 4,100 on DraftKings is like a bit more of a tough sell for me. I don't dislike him as part of a stack. I'm totally fine with it. Not a guy that I would probably get to with a lot of like one-offs on DK, but he looks great. I mean, power potential is there. Lefty-righty matchup. I can't complain at all.
No question, man. All right. I don't assume you're on Stroman on a slate like this.
No, I'm scared of Stroman. Like, yeah. I don't love getting A's bats, but Stroman's a really tough guy to ever get to. He's just a good pitcher and not really viable in fantasy.
Right.
Certainly not on a 13. We'll call it a 13 game slate.
Exactly. The upside there is hard to come by, you would think, on this slate. Yeah. Let's keep it going. Really, in this one, it's Toronto bats for me. This is not a game to just skip over because I love Toronto bats, but it's really just Toronto bats for me.
Yeah, for the most part, I agree. I'm just trying to see if there's anybody that could slip through the cracks for me. Like $3,900 Chris Davis on FanDuel, I don't have a huge issue with if you get to a one-off, but it's a really weird spot to
42 on
target.
42 on DraftKings isn't bad either. I mean, he is underpriced.
Yeah,
but
no, it's really hard to want to target anything here.
By the way, Chris Davis on DraftKings, we still have him projected to have quite a bit of ownership. So 16% on a big slate like this, that's a good amount. That's definitely a good amount. Let's keep it going. Let's talk some Boston and Tampa Bay. I'd love to get your opinion here because this is a game that I really didn't land on anything from. Marcus Walden for Boston. Do we know if he's just opening this game or not?
Yeah.
He confirmed is?
I mean, like, he's not going deep in this game. That much I can tell you.
I just wasn't sure if he was like a 1 inning guy or maybe you get 3 innings. But
I gave him 2 innings. Or not, I actually gave him 3, and it makes him completely non-viable.
Oh, I'm not talking about playing him, just to get an idea of what we're working with in this game.
I haven't looked much into it afterwards. Once I knew that they weren't really approaching this game like it mattered to them, I didn't feel the need to go much further than that.
Okay, I'm with you. His pitch counts this year: 24, 10, 23, 35, 41, 9, 25, 5.
Actually, is it Walden?
Oh, am I wrong? Did it?
No, it's Smith.
Oh, my fault.
You're good.
All right. It is Smith for sure?
That's what I'm seeing. Josh Smith.
Okay.
I wish it was Josh Smith from the NBA.
Oh my God, I forgot all about him.
So he just got to the league too early. Dude loved bombing threes.
I know. Oh, he's horrible at it. Yeah, you're 100% right, by the way, Josh Smith.
Hey,
I had an old.
Westbrook made a career out of it.
I know. I had an old page pulled up here, but okay, no Josh Smith.
It's not really changing the equation of anything here. That's for sure.
No, it doesn't really do much at all.
I mean, he's a starter, so that matters, right. I guess. But
yes, left hand. Or sorry, right? Is he? Wait, no.
He's a righty.
What?
He's a righty.
It's funny. One site has him as a lefty, another site has him as a righty.
There's probably a lot of Josh Smiths.
Oddly enough, if you go in the Fangraphs, there's only 2 of them: Josh D. Smith and Josh Smith. I guess he's Josh. Is he Josh D. Smith? I don't know.
He's Josh Smith.
He's Josh Smith?
Or what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I guess so. He is. So he's pitched at the major league level before. All right, it doesn't really matter, honestly. It doesn't matter. Nope. He is a righty, though. What do you make of this game? Because it's one that I'm not all that interested in.
Yeah, we're on the same page. Red Sox are like middle of the road, maybe even a little bit worse, just relative to their salary. That's both sites or all 3 sites, I guess. Rays are kind of in the same boat. I'm not really interested or getting to any real piece of this game.
I just got a severe thunderstorm warning.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Philadelphia area. Huh. I love thunderstorms, man. I thoroughly enjoy them. What about you? You like a good thunderstorm?
That just usually makes for a reason that I don't have to go anywhere.
You enjoy life. Do you know where Josh came from before today's show?
Doctor's appointment in a float tank, baby.
He's in a float tank. Yeah.
You know who also hit the float tank?
Who's that?
1-800-EDDIE.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, is there just like one of them around you and you have to travel a ways to get there, or?
We have 2 separate places in Wilmington. I did not realize the other place existed, and that is the one that is closer to my house. I drive further away, but I'm essentially driving like 6 miles or 7 miles.
That's
or something.
Not bad.
No, it's
how long are you in the tank?
An hour.
So an hour in the tank.
Yep. Pure darkness.
It's a deprivation tank. Sensory deprivation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Rogan talks about them a lot on the experience.
He's the impetus of me going and doing
Is that right?
Yeah.
Huh.
My first time I went like 5 years ago.
I would like to try it. It scares me though. Like there's an
So
idea.
they have light inside of it and a button you can press to turn it off. So like you can just, in the particular pods that I'm going in, you just push on the lid and it opens.
Right. Yeah. It's more so just the idea of.
It takes some getting
It's
used
hard to
to.
explain. Yeah.
No, it's not. I mean, I get it. It
Yeah,
takes
like-
some getting used to.
I enjoy, jumping off cliffs and doing fun, weird stuff like that. It's been a while, of course, but I'm saying there's certain things like that my psyche, I don't know how it would handle it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It takes some getting used to. The first time is like not a comfortable experience. Really takes a while to settle in, and by the time you settle in, you're basically getting back out.
Oh, good. Tornado warning. That's good. Let's get through this show before I'm dead.
Yeah, wrong show, man. The strategy show is the one where we go on a 25-minute.
Right. Morton and anything else though? Do you want hitters in it? Morton's a very good pitcher. I really like Charlie Morton. I'm not playing him at Fenway against the Red Sox, and Josh Smith and whatever they're doing for Boston doesn't really intrigue me all that much. So close this out for us.
No, like they're both like solid. It's just not that appealing of a fantasy game today. There's too many other games. If I have shares of like Red Sox hitters, I won't freak out. Brandon Lau looked really good on Yahoo earlier when I did the Yahoo show, but I have other teams that I greatly prefer today.
Okay. DeGrom and Anderson, Mets, Milwaukee. Like I said at the beginning of the show, serious weather concerns here, but we're going to talk about it as if it's okay, simply because if it is okay, we wouldn't have wanted to skip out on it. So let's just say weather was all right. I don't think it will be. I don't really think DeGrom is going to be playable here. But Josh,
speaking of the Red Sox Rays game, that one's not happening either. So
is that in real rough shape now too?
It has been all day, right?
Yeah. Well, it looked like it was potentially gonna.
No, that game is not happening.
Let me see here. Hold on.
That game's not happening. The Milwaukee Mets game is not happening. Miami Philly is okay if they can wait out like 2.5 hours. They might not want to do that because
Boston
Friday.
might be all right. This storm is coming up, like it's moving from the southeast, like it's moving northeast, and Boston. And look, you can look at the loop yourself. Don't take my word for it, but it looks like Boston probably, as of now, doesn't get hit until around 9 or so, I definitely think it starts on time if this is accurate.
Wow. Okay. You and I are on different wavelengths then. I'd be very surprised if this game started.
Are you looking at a radar loop?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
And you're looking at Boston. The Boston in Massachusetts.
I think you're thinking of Austin.
All right. I see. Okay. Well,
I'm not confident about the Red Sox game. I'm not confident. The Mets game's just not happening.
I'm not confident in the Reds. I'm just saying that I see it a little bit differently. New York, New York looks so bad that I don't even know if they want people around outside as this is happening. Like you may have some fatalities if you even try to roll the tarp out, mid game. So I'll just ask you, Jacob deGrom, you're not playing him because of the weather or anyone in this game. Is that correct?
Nope. Correct.
Okay. Man, it is a good spot for him, too. I get it. He's coming back after a little bit of an injury. The Brewers strike out a lot, though, and it's just a really high upside spot for DeGrom, but there's just really no way you can get here. So I mean,
here's the real reason to be nervous about this stuff, and I think it's the key piece of all of this. Today is Friday. Everybody's playing tomorrow, too.
Right.
All in the exact same place.
Right. Yeah.
Turning tomorrow into a doubleheader on a Saturday is like not the worst thing in the world.
It's not that difficult to do. You're right. So, yep, that plays a role.
Yeah. Like Red Sox Rays tomorrow is at 4:00. Not going to have any trouble running a 4:00 and a 7:00 tomorrow.
Right.
Unless Dropkick Murphys are doing a show at Fenway or something.
Dropkick Murphys. All right. Atlanta and Max Fried. And Colorado, Fried and Antonio Senzatella. Senzatella made his first start this year. Looked decent against San Diego. and got beat up a little bit against the Phillies. But he's not a guy that's going to miss a lot of bats, whether he's at Coors or whether he's at SunTrust. It was interesting, though, to see that the Braves, last I looked, had the second highest implied total on this slate. A few of them have come down a lot, by the way, over the past couple of hours. The Braves went from 5.3 to 5, or 5.2 to 5, I think. They're still the second highest behind Minnesota, though.
Yeah, I have the Braves, the Phillies, and the Mariners all at 4.9.
Okay.
Twins at 5.4.
I have Mariners and Phillies and Diamondbacks, but I mean, look, they're all. It doesn't matter. They're all basically the same.
Yeah. We're quibbling.
So what do you see here with the Braves bats against Senzatella?
So the Braves are a team where, like, it's kind of a bummer because I wish that I rostered them more, but I don't. I rarely get to Atlanta. I get to like Ozzie Albies as a one-off and Josh Donaldson as a one-off, but I rarely go 1-2. Like, I rarely get a 4-man stack, and it's really weird to me because they're always really easy to get to. First, second, third, and an outfielder, like, they stack up super clean, super easy. It's never like a problem to find outfielders that you want to add to the rest of your lineup, but there's just something, and they're great. They grade out well in my model. Super high weighted runs created plus guys. I just never get them. I can't figure it out. I have no idea. It's like my model knows that I'm a Braves fan and it's trying to keep me from hating the fact that they lose a game and cost me money.
Yeah. They also are one of those teams, you're right, that like you generally don't see Brave stacks at the top of tournaments.
No.
I don't know why it is, but it does feel that way. You know,
it's weird.
Yeah, it really is. But obviously, Acuna's in a good spot, and Freddie Freeman, these are obviously, it's a good Ozzie Albies. I like him better from the right side, but you got him leading off here, and if Braves did score 10 runs, it's not like I'd be shocked.
Right? Yeah, it's such a weird thing. I love the first 4 batters, and they all grade out as relatively solid plays, and yet I don't ever get them.
The other side of this game, what do you have, or do you have interest in Rocky bats against the left-handed Max Fried? He's good. I think Max Fried's a pretty good pitcher. You also have some Rockies that are really good against lefties. It's not at Coors Field, but Story and Arenado hit lefties really, really well, batting second and third in this lineup. Any interest here?
Trevor Story looks fantastic today. Nolan Arenado looks fantastic today. That's about the extent of what I'd look for from this team. Ian Desmond for $8 on Yahoo is just a name that I think I need to point out, but I don't know. I'd be happier to not be in this game.
No Drew.
I like Fried too. So.
Oh, you do?
I would be willing to use him on the 2 pitcher sites in limited amounts, and I think that he is just like a good pitcher. So. He's not someone that I'm generally interested in targeting against, but like Story and Arenado are 41 and 4,200 on FanDuel, 49, 48 on DK. I don't mind getting to those guys against a lefty at all.
You look at it on Yahoo though too, and check this out. Story. So Jorge Polanco is 25 at shortstop. Beckham 24. Baez 23. Mondesi, who I like for a few reasons, 22. DeYoung 21. You've got to come all the way down to 20 to find Trevor Story. And Nolan Arenado.
And the problem is he's still not even the best one.
What's that?
Francisco Lindor is 18.
I know, it's crazy.
He's my number 1 play on Yahoo.
It is wild. But then look at the third base position too. Rendon, Chapman, Dozier, Bregman, Yandy Diaz, Moncada, Ryan Healy are all more expensive than Arenado. Pretty crazy.
It's so stupid.
And that's just at third base. So you're definitely getting value in those bats. There's no question about it.
Yep, 100%.
Carlos Rodon, Daniel Norris, White Sox, Tigers. Hey, Rodon's been good, man. I've been a truther on Rodon for a while now. He struggled with walks, and he struggled when he misses. He a lot of times he misses kind of over the heart of the plate, but he hasn't done that this year. His strikeout rate's just a tad below 30%. Swinging strike rate 12.5. Outside contact rate, by the way, look, you could look this up if you think this, if you're not sure which is good or not. 51%, way lower than we've seen on him before. Slider is awesome. His slider is great. He can use it against lefties and righties. Changeup is good. I mean, his fastball might not be amazing, but he's keeping it in spots where he can't get killed on it. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Rodon to me is somebody that against a team like the Tigers, who striking out at the highest clip in baseball against lefties this season, 31.5%, 11th highest clip since the start of last season on their active roster. I think Rodon has quite a bit of upside here so long as he limits the walks.
Yeah, he grades out really nicely for me. Now he was, I don't want to say popular because I think that's the wrong term on a slate this big. He was at 19% ownership.
Yeah, it's higher than I thought he'd be. Most people tend to stay away from him.
But he's my fourth favorite pitcher on DraftKings. He's fourth for me. He's third for me. Nope, wrong again. Stupid Paxton is screwing this up in my head. Or DeGrom. See, now I'm dead. Too many names, man. Too many names.
All right, keep on moving on.
Carlos Rodon is my fifth ranked pitcher on FanDuel, my fourth ranked pitcher on DraftKings. Both of those rankings include Jake DeGrom, who I don't expect to play today. So he grades out really well. It's a great matchup. The Tigers strike out a lot, and they're not particularly good to begin with. So I really like Rodon here, and I'm happy because I don't feel like I get enough of him, and I like to follow him because he went to NC State.
Yeah, he's good, man. I was like, put it this way, if Josh Harrison was leading off, I would have had interest. I know he's got bumped down to the 7-hole, but Rodon does allow a lot of stolen bases. That is one thing. So if you're looking to at Tiger bats, if you're looking at cheap bats, I want the speed here. I want guys that will walk. Usually you don't care about walks, but it matters if they're going to steal. The problem is, what guys can you look at here where you're like, oh yeah, man, ton of speed and good talent. There just aren't that many. And Harrison's batting 7th. Candelario doesn't really steal much. I don't think he's a horrible play batting leadoff, but speed against Rodon is really his Achilles. And I'm not sure how much of it you're going to get here.
Not a lot, in my opinion.
So
I don't think Miggy's swiping a lot of bags today.
No, not these days. No. So that only, oh God, there really is a tornado warning. That really only, watch it. You guys will get some good streaming here.
Yeah.
Rodon.
As you fly away.
Yeah. Play Eichhoff.
Yahoo!
I think you have a good pitching option in Carlos Rodon. Do you like the White Sox bats who face it? I'd say Norris is pretty league average.
Yeah.
The White Sox bats are still expensive, man.
Yeah. Jose Abreu, and that's basically it for me.
Jose Abreu, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's kind of just like the answer always.
I think McCann is fine on sites where you can get him cheap. He's got, right versus left matchup. He's way better against lefties. A lot of not great hitters are better with the platoon advantage. Good hitters, it usually doesn't matter. McCann's batting in the middle of the order, cleanup behind Abreu in front of Moncada. I like that. The problem is, on Yahoo, he's $13 where Wellington Castillo was minimum salary.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pricing there definitely throws a wrench into the works.
It does indeed.
Minnesota, Baltimore. Martin Perez, Alex Cobb. I'll let you talk about Perez first. I went on a big rant against him when he was facing Toronto. We got 6 one-run innings, 5 strikeouts from him. Not a bad start.
No.
Faced Baltimore the next time out. Wasn't nearly as pretty, but he's sitting 95 on his fastball. He was touching 97 in the 6th inning, so velocity is not a problem for him. I think you actually like him more than I do today, though, which is interesting.
Oh, I just think that he is functionally viable because he faces the Orioles.
He is. He is. Functionally
great
viable.
Out well for me. I would have to manually make sure that I get to a little bit of him. But the increase in velocity and your rant from the last time that he pitched is still tucked away in my brain. I assumed you were going to be like, Love Martin Perez, best SB2 today, and now you're just kind of letting me down.
Sorry. When you have slates this like that was I think a 6 or 7 game slate or something. There wasn't really much pitching. A little bit more difficult for me to get there today. I'll tell you what though, man, I don't care if they're popular. I really don't care if they have the highest total and everyone's paying attention to them. The Minnesota Twins against Alex Cobb. This is as mouth-watering a matchup as you can get. You want to talk about Kepler, Polanco's expensive, but Cruz's price is wildly low in some spots. CJ Cron, man, there are a couple, even if you're not full out stacking this team, you could hand pick 3 or 4 out that you just absolutely love. At least I could.
Yeah, they grade out really well. That's what happens when you face Alex Cobb, a guy that doesn't strike anybody out. And when you have just under 200 ISO as a team, as a projection, that's sort of what I'm looking for in DFS.
They have the highest ISO. They have the highest ISO as a team versus righties this season in the entire major league.
That I believe it. 5.4 run total isn't too shabby either. It's really hard to not want to get to part of the Twins or like in abundance. Max Kepler leading off 3,100 on FanDuel, ludicrous. Nelson Cruz 3,500 on FanDuel, ludicrous. Give me CJ Cron, give me Eddie Rosario. I'll take Polanco. I mean, really the only guy that I don't need on FanDuel is Mitch Garver, and that's mostly just because I don't have to play a catcher. I don't mind going to Scope, who's got power in the 8 hole. Like him hitting a home run wouldn't shock me. He's going to go basically unowned. And then we've got Byron Buxton, the wraparound, a guy who I wish would put it together, but has the pedigree of number 1 draft pick. So it's not like he is some untalented guy. He's just had a lot of injury issues so far in his career.
Yeah. And you're going to have to pay for some of these guys, no question. Like a lot of them are expensive.
Oh, they are way more expensive on DraftKings than they are on FanDuel. On FanDuel, they're downright cheap.
Right. They really are. But Cruz, okay, look at DraftKings. Cruz at 47, that's not bad. I think that's perfectly fine. CJ Cron, 4K. Love it. Marwin Gonzalez is not very good. He's also better from the right side of the plate, but he's batting 6th. Fine. I mean, Josh, we're talking about a dude in Alex Cobb who I'm not trying to pick small samples here, but I'm gonna just for a second. He's allowed 5 home runs in 8 innings, and my guess is he allows a couple more today. And it's not just like this is some, some fluke, some mirage. No, he got crushed last year. He actually settled down at one point. The beginning of the year was horrible, but still allowed 1.7 home runs per 9 to righties. Still struck him out at 13%. 13%. Just a great team here. We could go on forever, but I think it's pretty clear.
Hard to avoid today.
Yeah.
They're really expensive on Yahoo. So maybe kind of easy to avoid there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm in.
Yeah, definitely easier to avoid. If you're looking, when you're talking cheap pitching there, you mentioned Perez. Like Perez is 27. He's $2 above the minimum. I get that there. If you really are looking to pay up for some of these really pricey bats, but you're going to need to go with at least one very cheap pitcher in order to do it with a couple of these teams. Yeah. Any interest in Baltimore bats?
VR Mancini is Renato Nunez, I think, is fine. VR better against righties than lefties, but I mean, nothing that I need to go crazy over.
All right. Houston and Cleveland, Corey Kluber, Colin McHugh. It's funny. There's not anything in this game I like. Colin McHugh, you could make an argument for in tournaments just because he's very good. His numbers are skewed by one horrible start. Everything else has looked great this year. But then you mentioned him earlier in the show. You've got someone in Francisco Lindor who is just criminally underpriced in some spots.
Dude, he is insane for $18 on Yahoo, but equally insane for $3,800 on FanDuel and $4,500 on DK.
Yeah.
I love, like, I think Colin McHugh is good. I would classify him as, I don't know, an above average pitcher. Maybe that's a little aggressive, maybe a hair above average.
No, he's definitely above average. You were right the first time.
Okay.
At
least
it. From a standpoint of like the guy can get a ton of strikeouts. From fantasy, I think he's above average.
Sure.
No, overall he is, yeah.
I love stacking the Indians here. Lindor, Leonis Martin took Garrett Colyard last night, which is hilarious. Of all the people to get to him, that's the guy, of course.
Pretty amazing, huh?
Jose Ramirez just continues to be underpriced. I'm going to have a lot of these first five guys: Lindor, Martin, Ramirez, Santana, Gonzalez. I'm just in for this. And then, if I get to like Jake Bowers or something like that, 2,700 on FanDuel, $12 on Yahoo, 37 on DK. It's cool with me, but I'm going to have we weren't projecting any real ownership to the Indians outside of Lindor and Ramirez. So they're going to be a team that I'm most over the field on, I think.
Okay. And I kind of like that. Again, I have respect for McHugh, but you're also getting some of these Indian bats way cheaper than they should be.
Yeah.
You have to scroll to get to Ramirez or to see Ramirez on DraftKings. Like he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12th on the list, which is really wild.
Yeah.
Even if he hasn't been great this year. So
I'll take my chances.
That's kind of it for me. With Kluber, the same thing applies to Bauer.
Yeah.
He's good. He has struggled this year. He's walked too many batters, but he's still very good, and he's not expensive. But still, if you're in that range, and we're not talking, bless you. Was that a cough or a sneeze or both?
Cough.
A snuff.
Did I get to the mic or did I get to the mute button?
No, but you like cocked back for a sneeze, and then I witnessed a cough come out. So I
thought
sure.
I got to the mute button. I'm sorry.
You did get to the mute button.
Oh, okay. Well, then my apologies.
I just witnessed it.
Okay, cool. Gotcha.
Kluber, like if I'm going down to Kluber, just give me James Paxton.
Yeah, 100%. No interest in Kluber whatsoever. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible strikeout matchup, and Kluber hasn't exactly been like peak Kluber. So
he hasn't at all.
I don't need not that is changing anything to what I normally do, but it's certainly not making me want to look deeper.
Right. Do you have anything else from this game?
No.
Me neither.
I mean, again, if any of the top Astros bats show up in lineups, I'm not going to freak out because they're good.
Right.
But it's, again, still not a good spot.
You're not going to sit here and espouse that, that this is the best team on the slate with, 15 games. So
nope, not in the least.
Angels, Royals, Skaggs, and Duffy. Josh, I actually talked about Skaggs in today's deep dive article, and I think it's from a strikeout standpoint, you have a good amount of strikeouts here. Dozier, Soler, O'Hearn, Owings, Maldonado, and Hamilton. Your 4 through 9 batters are all 25+% K rates versus lefties since the start of last season. Pretty intense.
Alex Gordon strikes out quite a bit too. So
right. Oh yeah, Alex Gordon. Does he though? I guess for some.
He's got a 23% strikeout rate as like a general projection.
Right.
So I would only assume that he's not great against lefties.
No, I mean, yeah, I would absolutely assume the same thing. Maybe for some reason, why do I feel like last year, for some reason, he did not strike out against lefties? It was
not to mention Mondesi K's a ton too, doesn't he?
Yeah, Mondesi will strike out well, I'm just talking about the guys that are like 25 and higher, and then everyone else mostly strikes out a decent amount. There's a lot of strikeout upside here. But I'm also not, oh God, I'm not overlooking, it's getting wild out there. I'm not overlooking the fact that this is a team that I thought it would be Lucroy, but it's Kevin Smith, which means that's just as good, even though Lucroy's allowed 16 stolen bases on 19 attempts, allowed 72 last year, most in the league. Kevin Smith's still not good. So if Whit Merrifield or Mondesi get on base, they are going to run. There's a lot of stolen base upside here. It's just a matter of which spot you like more, and that's where I turn to you.
I would rather have Skaggs than the Royals bats. None of them grading out all that well, but as you said, like in an unlucky spot for Skaggs, if he's got a bunch of singles and stuff that start dropping in, he's going to be in for a long day, like long innings, lots of lots of throws back to first, lots of stepping off the rubber. It can get pretty ugly and really mess up his rhythm. So it's a really high risk, high reward spot here on both sides. But I would want to have more of Skaggs than I would of the Royals bats.
Okay.
Mondesi just grades out kind of well regardless.
And shortstop's actually not that great.
Yeah.
I like Mondesi a decent amount here. Plus, he's against lefties too. You want to talk about power. He does have pretty solid power. I think he's got like a 240 ISO or something. Strong numbers there. But Skaggs also in a good spot, and I like the price. So not against him. I wonder, will we see any limitations is the only question.
Maybe.
What do you make of Danny Duffy's back on the bump? Mike Trout, obviously, in a smash spot here.
Yeah, he is. I mean, Trout, we don't ever have to really like talk about him, right?
We really don't.
He's just good. I don't mind Pujols. I don't really mind getting to David Fletcher, but I think Duffy's like a solid guy that I don't really need to focus against him. And it's not like the Angels have some monster implied total. So I don't anticipate having much here outside of the GOAT.
Yeah, I just really like Mike Trout, and that's about it. Fletcher leading off, you could do worse. And especially like he's on FanDuel, he's $2,500. So a leadoff bat with the platoon advantage at $2,500 against Duffy, it's really not all that bad.
Nope, not at all.
It's just the question of whether or not you need him, and you might not. It's 35 on FanDuel or DraftKings, not bad. All right, 4 games to go here, Josh. St. Louis, Cincinnati, Miles Mikolas, Anthony DeSclafani. This for me is mostly. I like Carpenter quite a bit against DeSclafani. He's a lot worse against lefties, like a lot worse. You actually mentioned that you might have some interest in pitching him, I heard earlier, though, so I'm curious to hear where you're at.
Yeah, he just grades out as like one of those guys in the 7K range that I would be fine going to.
A lot of righties in the lineup.
Yeah, I'm a bit more of a DeSclafani believer than I think a lot of the public is. And like I said, he just, if he has no ownership whatsoever and he's in this sea of 7K guys that I think are all super comparable, like Fried, Eichhoff, Skaggs, Stroman, Hendricks, Mikolas, DeSclafani, Chase Anderson, all of those guys are separated by like 1/10%. So if I'm in GPPs, I'm happy to have shares of all of those guys for whatever that works in that particular lineup. And he fits that bill right now. It's not like it's a monster strikeout matchup, but it is a sea of righties for the most part. It's in an NL park, which is always helpful. So, you get to pitch to Mikolas. There are worse options, I guess. The Cardinals only have a 4.4 run implied total with Mikolas on the hill and it being a road game. I think that's kind of appealing and makes me feel a little bit better about the way I feel about DeSclafani. But we're talking about, 5%, 8%, not
right.
Like hitch my wagon or anything.
No, I'm okay with it. He actually, when you look at DeSclafani, he is doing a pretty solid job of missing bats and getting Ks.
Yeah.
In good spots, at least. So I think he's a risky play here just because St. Louis is a good team. Like, they're just a good team.
Yep, 100%. They have 116 weighted runs created plus. That's their aggregate for today. Scary.
Right. Which, yeah, exactly. I have a damn pit bull who is, the big teeth that bark loud and everything, but thunderstorms come around, biggest sissy in the world.
Mm-hmm. I picture that not as your dog, but as actual pit bull being really nervous about thunderstorms and stuff, hiding under like heavy blankets.
Oh yeah.
Like Mr. 305.
Actual pit. Most dogs are pretty terrified of them.
Yeah.
What about anything else here? Mikolas on the bump for St. Louis. Do you have any interest in like Votto or?
No. What happens when Mikolas and Votto face each other?
I don't know. What do you
Votto
mean?
walks constantly. Mikolas doesn't walk anybody. It's just like a really interesting play to pick.
That is a good point. And Mikolas doesn't really strike lefties out.
No.
So I guess what you're saying is Votto's at least going to be putting the ball in play.
Yeah, like Jesse Winker and Votto, they're not big strikeout guys. So I'm anxious to see like how those matchups go. I mean, I assume they've faced each other quite a bit at this point. Or Votto at the least has seen Michaelis a ton. I actually don't hate Reds bats. They're really cheap on FanDuel.
Schebler's minimum salary on FanDuel.
Right. $8 on Yahoo. So like some combo of Votto, Suarez, Winker, Puig, Schebler, I can get to that.
It's not the craziest idea.
No, like it's not really appealing. Like Michaelis is a way better real life pitcher than DFS pitcher.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy that I typically want to just load up against.
I hate the guy for DFS.
Yeah. The pricing makes the Reds viable on a day where I want to spend a lot on pitching.
Yeah, that's fair. Right. If you're like loading up on Scherzer Paxton lineups, this would be a spot where you could make it work on, because even on DraftKings, they're pretty inexpensive. Like Votto is 3,800.
Yeah, that's crazy cheap.
It is. They're cheap. They are. Arizona, Chicago, Robbie Ray, Kyle Hendricks. For me, I wasn't really big here outside of maybe like a Wilson Contreras because catcher sucks. Chris Bryant's pretty cheap. Almora is leading off. Robbie Ray does allow home runs at 2.36 per 9 to righties at Chase Field last year. It has been a big wart of his. I guess just do you like them enough on such a big slate?
A little bit. Almora and Bryant would be it all depends which site. So like Almora and Bryant, I'm cool with on Yahoo. I don't really need much else. Same story on FanDuel. Like if Almora is $2,100 and leading off, I'm just always interested in a $2,100
right.
On DraftKings, I think an Almora, Bryant, Rizzo, Baez stack is viable. Baez's price is craziness, but you're also getting a shortstop, a first baseman, a third baseman, and an outfielder. That's a really nice stack to get to. And if this goes squarely for Robbie Ray, like that's bad. With that said, $8,400 Robbie Ray on FanDuel is very appealing to me if you're looking to get away from all of the guys at the top and still want to get a guy in there that can mow people down on his best day. He's at 4% ownership in our last update. That is a guy that I want to have in large field GPPs on FanDuel. He's $35 on Yahoo. He's getting a lot of ownership there, as he should at that price tag. He's the 17th most expensive pitcher on Yahoo. Like, that's just silly. I agree that he should be owned there as well as an SP2 because he's really an SP1.
Contreras is crushing.
But it makes me real nervous. But if he's unowned, that's the kind of guy you want in a GPP.
All right. Yeah, that's fine.
We got an ownership update.
Contreras is crushing the ball this year, man. God, he is crushing the ball. He's got 6 homers and 11 extra base hits already. He's been impressive. Catcher's just such a bad position that I still do like Contreras a decent amount, but I think what you were saying, it does seem to make more sense as a stack option than anything else, than kind of one-offing this team, especially when Ray does give up a lot of home runs here.
Yeah, like if this goes bad, I think it can go really bad. By the way, Max Scherzer's ownership on DraftKings now, 64%.
Wasn't it 68% already?
I don't know.
I mean, it's crazy high. You think about this. This is a 15-game slate. Yeah. And I'll do you one better. DeGrom's still at 35%. So think about what happens when we find out that game isn't playing.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like this isn't correct. So I might have to point something out to the powers that be. Because,
what do you mean? In what sense?
Well, Jake DeGrom's not going to be 35% and Paxton is not going to be unable to be found.
Paxton's at 11. Yeah, that seems low.
So that's just not happening. James Paxton, the line on that game is, the total on that game is 6.
It's probably hard. I know. It's
playing like full stop in a pitcher's park.
I know. I know. Well, literally the best pitcher's park in the league. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't know. So it's like an actual question. Are these ownership projections more difficult when you have serious weather games like this and someone who would have had tons of ownership if it played or was expected to play?
Yeah, has to be
Has to have an impact, right?
Has to be an additional wrinkle. But I know that if Tom saw this right now, or Eddie, or whoever just ran them, and saw
Paxton at 11%.
Paxton and DeGrom at 35,
right?
Like they're just gonna be like, no, I know that this is like I need to rerun this. There was obviously something off.
Right. So keep an eye on. We'll see.
Yeah, look, the only one that really matters is the last one we get once all the lineups are
exactly.
in.
Even on FanDuel, Scherzer 35, which I think is fine, but DeGrom at 22 and Paxton at 6 or 7%. So
yeah, I think if I had to guess, something we have a mechanism that says like take off 20% of this projection as you try to make this ownership, and it went like we did it on Paxton instead of DeGrom.
Gotcha.
Like that's really the only way that makes any sense, or we are missing something really massive on Paxton, because it's basically, I mean, the Giants are projected for 2.9 runs, and there's only supposed to be 6 of them in the whole game.
Yep.
It smells like a pitching matchup to me.
Yep. And their total has actually been falling throughout the day.
Yeah. And there's no rain out risk.
Nope. And just literally the best park you could get. Literally the best park you could get. So, all right, Josh, 2 games. And hey, by the way, Deeper Dive, the show you're watching right now, is also the promo code to get 50% off your first month at awesemo.com. All one word. You see it at the bottom of your screen. Promo code is Deeper Dive, one word. Use that when you sign up. And in order to do so, it's very simple. You just click the sign up on your homepage on the top left side of it. Select your plan. You can select the Fantasy Cruncher add-on if you'd like, and you'll be prompted to enter a promo code. It's Deeper Dive. It'll give you 50% off your first month. If you want, you could try a week pass as well to test the waters. But we've got the ownership projections, the player projections, the Fantasy Cruncher add-on, the lineup builder, Awesemo, Alex Baker himself, his projections, rankings, and all of his content. And, of course, Josh, baseball, basketball, hockey, PGA, NASCAR, MMA, football, and others. So we've got it all over there. And if you use the promo code Deeper Dive, you get half off your first month.
The boss man just showed up in YouTube chat. Our ownership projections do not incorporate weather risk.
Okay. I just feel like it'd be, and I just, again, I'm not nearly as versed in that stuff. It seems like it'd be very difficult to incorporate weather into this.
Yeah, it's hard to model people's thought process like that.
That's what I would think. But it's not hard to assume that a lot of DeGrom ownership is going to go to Paxton and more to Scherzer.
Right. So, thanks to the boss for poking in and letting us know.
Thanks, Tom.
I appreciate knowing that, because it caught my eye and felt off to me.
Was that in YouTube or Slack chat?
YouTube. You came for the
okay, cool.
Came for the people.
We also have Slack chat, premium Slack chat, by the way, while I'm at it. Dodgers, Pittsburgh, Hyunjin Ryu, Chris Archer. I think I really like Ryu. Not here. I don't see the need with this. I don't think a lot of strikeout upside is here, but I really like him. He's a good pitcher, man, when he's healthy. And Dave Roberts, though, we always worry about him limiting him. He's not expensive. It's just not necessary either. And Chris Archer's having a good year, but you have a tough time convincing me that he's an optimal play against the Dodgers either.
I have audio playing, and I don't know where it's from.
That's interesting. Oh, I hear it.
Yeah, I don't. Where is that coming from? A live stream in my Steam app, which I didn't have open at all today. So I don't know how that happened. Sorry. I got real caught off guard by that. I'm with you on Ryu. I like him generally speaking. This is not that day for me. And he's getting like a relatively decent amount of ownership too. And the top of the Pirates order is just not like the kind of order that is just going to K a ton. So I find it to be a really unappealing spot.
Me too. And I'm not enthusiastic about Archer either, with Peterson, Seager, Turner, Ballinger, Pollock, Muncy, Hernandez. It's a good Dodgers lineup. I'll pass.
Yeah, not a Dodger that I want outside of Jock Peterson.
No, but also I don't want Archer.
Neither do I.
I don't really have anything from this game.
Jock Peterson and Melky Cabrera are the only two people I'd be willing to roster.
Okay.
Melky Cabrera is the flat minimum in the 2-hole today for the Pirates. Better against lefties than righties.
Texas, Seattle. Kikuchi opening up. Justice Sheffield, probable long relief. Shelby Miller. I said earlier in the show, I think there's crazier ideas than saying, okay, maybe Sheffield. If he goes 5 innings here, he's Seattle's number 1 rated prospect right now.
I do.
Strikeouts come down a little bit, but he has a really good slider, and he is not a bad pitcher. And, well, we talked about Marco Gonzalez yesterday, right? We talked about him at length on the show. What a phenomenal start we got from him. This is what you can get against this Rangers team when you're a lefty. 7 shutout frames, 9 strikeouts. One of the best starts I've ever seen from Gonzalez. He was brilliant.
Incredible.
Brilliant. And
what would you say were the chances that he was the highest scoring pitcher yesterday? Heading into it.
Pretty low, because I didn't think I thought he was very safe. I didn't think he was the highest upside guy at all.
Yeah. It had to be 3-4% at best.
Yeah.
With Nola, Cole, and Bauer all in the slate.
Right. Yeah. And only 5 games, but still.
Yeah.
I liked Gonzalez. I just didn't see that coming. So yeah, you could, call me crazy for Sheffield. That's fine. I can handle it. But he's also literally minimum salary on DraftKings. He's $4,000. He's $4K. We've played long relievers at like $6,000 before.
Yeah.
If he gave you 5, things could get ugly for him. I know. But another guy talked about a lot that I really loved until I found out he was in long relief and made that mistake of not playing him was Felix Pina, who went 5 1-run innings with 8 Ks against the Yankees just the other day. So it's not like guys can't do it in long relief. I don't know what type of strikeouts he's going to get, Josh. All I'm saying is if you got 5 innings, now I want to see what the lineup looks like for Texas. The same disclaimer as yesterday. But if you have like Wisdom and Gallo and Mathis in here, there's upside. I'm just throwing it out there. 4,000 flat.
Doesn't grade out all that well for me. I'll be honest.
That's fair enough. You don't have to agree with me. I'm just giving you my thoughts on it.
No, so that's more of like an outlook on Justice Sheffield than an outlook on rostering him in DFS, because 4K is a very different ballpark. Or like you're doing something different at 4K. Most guys that are priced at 4K do suck. That's the reason they're 4K.
Right. Or are only throwing 1 inning.
Right. So it's a little bit different. I think that I would rather have Josh Smith than Sheffield.
All right. That's okay. Yeah, fair enough. What if
I were dropping all the way down to 4?
What if you have like Wisdom, Gallo, and Mathis all in the lineup? Like, I think that's significant, so I'm asking you. Those guys monster strikeout rates.
It's clearly going to change things. The problem is that, and it's not like this is some big secret that I use Steamer as my base. Sheffield projects as like a really crappy K guy and a really bad walk guy and a really bad FIP guy. So it's going to take a lot. I have Wisdom and Mathis both in my projected lineup right now. So it's actually not going to get any better. It can only get worse.
All right.
I would go to Smith over Sheffield. But again, you're making the play for these guys for reasons that are different than I think he's going to go out and get 30. Like that's just,
right. So
it is a mechanism to different things.
Let me put it in context for you. When I talked about him this afternoon in today's deep dive, I said he's obviously a big risk, but you'd be able to do whatever you want with hitters. The only reason I'd be looking at him is if I wanted to stack the Mariners on DraftKings specifically, because the Mariners are facing Shelby Miller, but they're ungodly expensive, and that'll probably keep their ownership through the floor. So a team like the Mariners, where you have to pay up for almost everyone in this lineup, then I could say, oh, well, if he gave me 18 or 20, that could take me a long way. But not if you're just doing what's normal and getting to the teams that everyone else is getting to. Some of these really high-priced, under-owned stacks, it would be the only reason that I'd give it any consideration. What are your thoughts on the Mariners bats today? Because we got one more game and then we got to go. I want to leave time.
Oh, damn! It's 6:01. We Mariners are really easy to get to on FanDuel, but are just outfield, first outfield is tough. They're really expensive on DraftKings
Really
still.
expensive.
So I assume that I won't get to much again. I just need to hope that they don't go crazy. For the Rangers, I'm not super interested on anything here. DeShields and Pence, I guess, because they're cheap. I don't know.
Still a
I'm
shitty
good on
park,
Rangers.
too.
I'm good on Rangers.
All right, Yankees, Giants. We'll close it out here. Paxton and Bumgarner. For me, it's Paxton, and really that's it. Maybe you have a different take on this game outside of Paxton.
Nope. Paxton is one of the 3 best options on the slate today. It's 2 if DeGrom's not there. He is it's a fantastic matchup. You know, the Giants aren't really that great. Average K matchup, but incredible park. Very hard to see this going really poorly for Paxton. So I love Paxton, and only guy that I would really want in this game. Well, there's 2. Gary Sanchez is fine for New York because he's Gary Sanchez. And Tyler Austin is the flat minimum on FanDuel hitting second. I'll take my chances in a righty-lefty matchup.
All right, and very quickly, top stacks, Josh.
Top stacks, FanDuel, Phillies, Indians, Padres, Blue Jays. On DraftKings, Phillies, Indians, Padres, Blue Jays. Very clean at the top. On Yahoo, Phillies, Indians, Tigers, Reds.
All right. You went site specific, so I'll just give you my favorite raw projected stacks. Minnesota, just for me, far and away ahead of everyone else. But I really like Toronto. I do like Seattle, but you have to get really creative if you're going to do it on DraftKings. And those are my favorites as of now. I'll also throw out if you're looking for one that shouldn't be very popular, or maybe they will. I haven't looked at our updates. I do think Washington, because of the right-handed power, is very interesting, and the Royals because of their speed. If you think that they can get on base against Skaggs. That'll do it for us. Live Before Lock is coming up next. As always, thank you to our sponsor, Yahoo Sports. Still some entries open there. The 15K guaranteed MLB. They don't get cute with names. They just tell you what it is. The MLB 15K guaranteed. 2K to first. $15 entry. A 12% management fee. Pretty solid over there. Still about a good amount of spots to go there. Head over to yahoosports.com, and we'll shoot the link in the YouTube chat. So you can get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. Also, use the promo code Amazon.
Wrong company,
Awesome.
man.
I had an Amazon tab pulled up next to my Yahoo tab. Awesome-o, not Amazon. Awesome-o when you sign up for phenomenal Josh Engelman there. Myself, Dave Lockram. We'll see you back here after the weekend on the Deeper Dive.
Later, guys.